Well, well, well. Look what we have here. We have the Gong Pop Mart exclusive Superman action figure and the Shazam. I borrowed this from my buddy Jacob. He is into the Mezcoverse. I like to do reviews on these third-party DC figures because I'm a huge DC shill and more of a DC guy. I'm not saying I read Kingdom Come when it first came out, but I did read the trade. And at that time, the third X-Men movie came out and it bombed, and I was really still into comic stuff. And I was watching The New Frontier, and I love that golden age storytelling where it was just told really well, and it was just this great Justice League story, and they got Superman out of it, and you saw Flash start to appear. So that point in time, I was in my early 20s, maybe my late teens, and I just became more of a DC fan after that. And somebody told me DC writes better Elseworld stories, so I was reading Red Son Superman, and I really started to love these Golden Age characters. Dex Ross did really well. And then when I read Kingdom Come, it just totally blew my mind. So these figures have a special place in my heart and my mind. I was just coming out of like a Dragon Ball phase, and those X-Men movies weren't doing well, so then I just really cling on to these Golden Age DC heroes, especially that was illustrated by Alex Ross. So now that when I saw these go up for pre-order, these look amazing. Speaking of third-party DC figures, I've been waiting for this Clark Kent's figure to come out for a while, but yet it's been a long time. This pre-order came up for the Gong Studios. Maybe it's a licensing issue because these look like their first party. Maybe that's why it's able to come out first, and this Clark Kent figure hasn't, but I've been waiting for it. My only concern is I pre-ordered these at $5K, and on Toy Metaverse says it has an exclusive, so I'll see when mine comes in for $5K. And you could check my social media here at Jimmy Han Rises on Instagram or TikTok to see if they were able to ship it, because at this point, what is this, like October 15th? 5K hasn't shipped theirs out yet. I like 5K is really reliable, and then they have points that I use for other third-party stuff. Enough of my rambling of what I like. You're here to look at these figures up close so you can make a decision to see if you want to buy it. But off firsthand, let's just take a look at how they look classically and iconically as their figures. There are not a lot of Shazam figures, so when I see this first, I love the cheesy grin. I love the Golden Age outfit to this. I like that even though it's spandex, right? It's got that cloth feel to where it's like a thick uniform. So I feel like it makes the figure look better. And it has this great cheesy face right here. And then there's wire in the cape, which the Superman does not have wire. But we'll talk about that some when we talk to Superman. But I really want to focus on Shazam first. So when I saw the pre-orders for this first, I was very impressed with it. The shading in it, the 5 o'clock shadow, the sculpting of the eyebrows. Plus, he had it's weird to me that they made a plastic sash instead of fabric like the cape. The boots also look like they're material, but they're actually all plastic. This is plastic, but the cape is really impressive. The ornateness of this, I don't even know what to call this right here, but it's ornate. The gold trim is sewn really nice. This is a very soft material right here where it's almost like a jersey, but it's not cloth. Overall, I like the aesthetics of the Shazam, just because there's not a lot of them. Even though that new 52 tries to make him darker and edgier, but I love this cheesiness. And I'm pretty sure you guys are on social media now, and you guys see all these memes of Man of Tomorrow or something like that, where he likes to come down and he wants to meet us. He's a really nice guy. And that's the feel that I get from this Shazam. Not this dark edgelord stuff with Omni-Man and Homelander, but good old Golden Age superhero where we have hopes and we have values. And the new 52 does a poor job of doing that with Billy Bastion, where the teenager is like constantly angry, but then Zach Levi portrays the new 52 Shazam really well, where Shazam acts like a kid, but the teenager doesn't act like a kid. They feel like two different people. So I love this wholesomeness that he embodies. He personifies the character well. And then if you look at this Superman right here, with a black S on his chest from Kingdom Come because he's been through so much as part of his change. It looks less like an S, but where it goes straight through, where he's more militant. If you read the comic, you know why he's more militant, because he's had such a great loss and he goes into hiding. But when I look at the Superman, he just doesn't look as impressive as Shazam. Because if you look at Shazam, his shoulders look broad. It could be the way that I'm posing him. It could be the cut of the material. But I don't like the way, just looking at it offhand, right? Whoops. Just looking at it offhand, there's no shading on his chest. And then the skin on the face is absolutely beautiful. And then his shoulders slump down, right? So if we take a look on the inside for it, it's a metal arm. So it looks like they're limbs. These look like they're the same body types. You could see the metal go through the tights right there. So when I look at Superman, he just looks less impressive. I feel like his chest should be bigger and wider, and his shoulders need to be bigger, right? His quads look really good. You can see the definition of his quads coming out. Look at that right there. You could see his hamstring muscles coming through the back, but his shoulders and his chest just needs to be big. It needs to be bigger at the top too. When you're building heroic figures, they have to be bigger. I do love the trunks at the bottom. I love how these abs show through. But I like my Superman to be a little less detailed and muscular, and I love that old man width. And I know this is a controversial figure that just came out recently, but I love the anatomy of it. So if we take a look at this Darkseid, right? I love how wide he is as Darkseid. And older Clark is wider. He's not going to be as defined. I love it. Like, if you watch Chris Jericho, like his body is getting wider, and Double J Jeff Jarrett, and look how there's not a lot of meat at the top of his pecs, but the meat is lower. But even his shoulders for the DC McFarlane looks better than the shoulders that's on the Superman. But I just wish he was wider, and he didn't have as much definition like this Darkseid right here. And I know a lot of people are crapping on this, but it has some merits. I like my DC things. I am biased. So those are some of the things that disappoint me with the aesthetics of Superman. But if you watch any of my last videos, just looking at the heads alone, I think are worth it, right? So if we take a look at what it costs right here on Toy Metaverse, and then on 5K, okay, these heads are amazing. How much do we pay for custom heads, like from eBay? $50. And if you got the collector's edition, okay, how much are you actually paying? This actually looks like it'll make a really good Punisher head. I got a question to ask you guys. Sorry, I ramble and I go off topic. There's 1,000 things going through my mind. I don't like it when they draw Superman or Bruce very like Italian. Like, I feel like he has like a very Italian feel to him, right? He looks like he's more Italian than like you can't generically put it, American guy with black hair. But I feel like he looks very Italian. So I feel like these heads make great Punisher heads. All right, let's put this on a Punisher body. You see what I mean right here? It sits a little high and it's on there, but if you're sitting on the shelf and you got a jacket and you put a coat on him, he could look pretty cool. But I feel like this angry head looks more like a Punisher. Maybe his head should be wider, more square. I got to take a look at some Alex Ross Superman photos. But I don't know. I feel like I don't like it when... who else doesn't do great faces, even though he's very famous? Jim Lee. I feel like the Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent face look very identical. And so to me, this face looks like what? Yeah, so he looks like Ray Stevenson from Ahsoka, and from the, I really like the Punisher movie. It's kind of over the top, and I watched it in theaters with the ultra violence. This Superman looks a lot like Ray Stevenson when we're talk about an ultra realistic approach. Just some of my thoughts out there. So yeah, so back to what I was saying. So you get two heads, right? So you get this angry Superman. I probably should have went to Shazam. Looks great. The messiness of the hair, The gritting of the teeth. There's a slight shine to the pupils. Can't tell if the camera is picking it up. The shading in it, parts that are supposed to be red. If we take a look at his hair, the graying, you know, the graying of it, the sculpt for the hair going back looks really good. So if we take a look at that, that looks really, really good. The teeth are done really well. Again, the 5 o'clock shadow really just gives it more life. I mean, so if you think that's like $100 right there, right? So if you go on eBay and you buy some custom heads, you know, and they paint it for you and everything like that. Like if you look at these Punisher ones, they're so expensive. And if you look, maybe this looks more like Ray Stevenson. I don't know. I keep thinking of Ray Stevenson every time I look at these figures. The Shazam looks great. The stoic, yet definitely not stoic, but he has a slight smile. But if you were to have the head, this cheesy smile right here really, really sells it. Oh man, but they're great. You can't really complain about what's going on. So if you look at the price, the quality of the uniform is not the best, but it's far from bad. It's far from bad. I love the way that it looks. I think that the Shazam has a much better value. So if we take a look at Shazam's hands, those are Superman's flight hands right there. Shazam has the same Superman flight hands. Okay. Then he has regular flight hands. Sorry, it's really hard to get these guys. And if we want to take a look at Superman's hands, he has 2 fists, just like Billy Bastion. From the comic that Billy Bastion is fighting him, Shazam is fighting him. So if we take a look right here, there are 2 gripping hands, right? They look really good. So that's the only difference in hands from the 2 figures right there. 2 heads, 2 hands. We didn't take a look at the box for Shazam. Let me take care of him right here before he falls off. So very similar to the Superman one. It has a window that you could see through and a bunch of instructions that look like they're in Chinese first. Then it's in English, then in Korean. So it looks like it's not intended for this market, but for a market overseas. Probably because Mezco has this license down here. But yeah, these 2 action figures look great. So let's go ahead and pose, play with their articulation. Their feet go together. There's not a giant crotch gap. For people who have big quads, should have large buttocks from deadlifts. So they could make that a little bit better in their anatomy. The ankle rotation, there's a gap there. When we do that, not too much right there. But, you know, Superman and Shazam aren't really known for their arms do not go beyond the regular T-pose of every messianic where people like to put in. He could have larger lats. His side to side is not good. Forward crunch, not the almost no forward crunch at all. But the back crunch, I think, is more important for their flight poses. So it has that for the flight pose. Twist the body a little bit. Got a classic Superman pose right there. So no front crunch. There is back crunch, T-pose, so not the best articulation, but it's serviceable. I never look for... And sometimes I think it's ridiculous. And of course, this does better splits than a lot of figures, but I don't care if my figures do splits, because not a lot. Spider-Man I care about. You know, Nightwing I care about, but a lot of figures I don't. Double jointed knees that it looks like, but it doesn't double joint too far. But again, I don't care. If he's going to throw a punch, can he twisted. Yeah, so definitely the same body. Uses metal parts. God dang, that is an amazing figure. So overall, I love these guys. Great paint on the face. Shazam better. Use looks better because of the outfit that it uses. Look at the stitching. The stitching is pretty good too. Oh, you know what? I should probably take a look at that stitching. Stitching is not the cleanest. No stitching in the back, but it looks like they put the shirt on. Oh, and they stitched it on the inside. No, I'm not the best. I don't have the most Mezco reviews, so I don't know how to review stitching. But it looks like they put the shirt on and then they stitched the bottom on from there. If we take a look at Superman, stitched in the back, so that's a little bit different. I think Superman's very clean with the stitching. But yeah, all right, let's take a look at these third-party DC figures. Here they are side by side, looking strong, looking about 6 foot even. These guys are supposed to be larger-than-life heroes. So the Heath Ledger Joker looks like it's on par, Flashpoint Batman, and the Arkham Origins Deathstroke looks to be a little bit taller. But yeah, so if you buy other third-party DC figures, it's going to look in scale with that. Let's go look ahead and take a look at some Mezcos. All right, here these are standing next to some Mezcos, just side by side. I know they're different styles, but look at how large his head is compared to how small his chest is. To the Gong Studios, there's just some questionable sizes about the size of his head, his cape, but they do scale well with Mezco. I just wanted to say that. But again, they're very comparable. These Golden Age characters right here, it looks like it fits right into a Mezco. You know, they went with this Mezco-fied approach with the boots, and they went, you know, more to the Golden Age Alex Ross stuff. If you didn't tell me this was third party, I would think it's a Mezco because the quality. I would be surprised if it was Mezco. To me, they look better than Mezcos. But if you look at how yellow Diana's skin tone is compared to theirs, where it has like a gray tint to it, it's just amazes me how well Gong Studios did this Shazam. I love this Shazam so much when you compare it against the Mezcos. Even though it's the price of a Mezco, I don't even know if Gong Studios is a third party. I just cannot stop gushing over this Shazam right here. All right, so I specifically picked these Mafex as, you know, Superman and Batman, they use the same body, okay? So for long, agile characters, they look great. Like the Daredevils, the Spider-Mans, they look great, especially if they have a simple approach. But if you have the Mafex, right, Superman does not look big enough in his quads. They look so skinny. They look like a long-distance runner's legs instead of a power lifter. What Mafex does do well is the lats. And they do it better than... So I love how wide the back is for Superman. The lats look great, but the Gong Studios, the lats don't look so great. I wish they gave him a wider back with that. His head is the right proportion to that. This has better shoulders, but you know it's definitely not going to work on the Mafex line anyways because it's the Jim Lee comic book versus the very realistic Alex Ross approach. You know, they have their strengths and their weaknesses, but I do require these companies to step it up because I still don't have a definitive Superman. This Jim Lee Hush Superman is not my definitive. The Mezco is not my definitive. And I feel like this is much better quality than them. And that's why I selected these three to compare to them. So Shazam doesn't really have a comparison to deal with that, just so you could see the size comparison. If you want to compare them against Marvel Legends, they are a little bit taller. So they are not exactly 1/12 scale, because we all know Marvel Legends tend to scale a little bit bigger. And then for the people who like to do Superman versus Goku ones, this is what they look like compared to figure arts. You know, Asian guys are smaller, and Goku and Vegeta are smaller than Superman. So that's how they look like. So those are my thoughts and what I think of these. So let's give them a final review. Accessories, let's give them a 8 out of 10. We did not get a flight stand. We did not get any heat eye effects or any lightning bolts. So I think 8 out of 10 is fair for that. Articulation, not the worst. Serviceable. So again, I'll give him an 8 out of 10. Aesthetics, I'm going to give Superman an 8 out of 10. And I'm going to give Billy Bastion a 9.9 out of 10. Okay, so overall, what would I rate it? I would give Superman, again, an 8 out of 10. Overall, very good. Not my definitive. But I'm going to give this guy a 9.8 out of 10. Got to drop it a little because, you know, it does have some flaws. But he would be my definitive Shazam, not in a comic book look. It's hard to think of any Shazam figures that are better than this, because they're all either comic book or very cartoony. It's a very specific take on it. But what it does and what the strengths are, it does right. The big smirk, the sewing, the way the anatomy works. I just love so much about this figure. Like, I'm just gushing over it. I suggest that you do get both, but you should definitely get the Shazam before the Superman. Because how long will it take to finally get something this good for a Shazam? You know, the second movie just tanked. So to get a Shazam like this, and if you're a big DC fan like me, you're going to have to take this opportunity before, you know, if you don't know, sometimes these third-party companies, they re-release things. Sometimes they don't. Like, there was this Metal Gear Solid 5 Venom Snake figure. It went away and it shot up a lot. So I do have FOMO with these third parties, because who knows when they could lose their license. Who knows how many are going to be out there, because they may part these off and butcher them off. Get both. Get both to be safe. And if you love Shazam, definitely grab the Shazam. As always, you know, I'm going to say the generic stuff that's free. It always helps people out, you know, like and follow. You know, I don't post a lot of content. I'm starting to pick it up a lot now. My kids are at an age to where I constantly have to be out of the house. And, you know, you got to focus on your kids first and your family. So like and follow if you do. That would help me out. You know, leave a comment, share, and I have a catchphrase, because my hunting videos are a lot more popular than my review videos. Hunt early, hunt often.